Rad isn't just a cult classic, it's a time capsule of pure 80s adrenaline. But behind the iconic BMX stunts, neon outfits, and unforgettable soundtrack are some seriously surprising stories you've probably never heard. Today, we're diving into 10 weird facts about Rad 1986 that will change the way you watch this movie forever. Let's drop in.
Rad looks like pure 80s rush. Bikes flying like missiles. Neon sweat. A town holding its breath at the top of a ramp. It plays like a dream that never sweats. But behind the shine and that training montage optimism, the movie was built to hide how much it hurt. A title so wrong it almost killed the release. Crashes staged for real, because the hype needed impact. A finale so dangerous the writers forced the course to change. These are 10 weird facts about Rad, the film that got laughed at first, then refused to die. Number 1. Rad sounds like it was carved into a BMX ramp. One word, pure momentum. A title that feels like the movie's heartbeat. It almost wasn't. The working title was Balls Out. On set, it meant exactly what the writers meant. Full commitment, no breaks, the kind of all-in mindset you need when the jump is bigger than your confidence. The phrase even survives inside the film, like a little fossil from the version that nearly existed. But the second that title leaves the dirt track and hits a theater marquee, the meaning changes. Because to anyone outside BMX slang, Balls Out doesn't read like sports. It reads like a movie your parents don't want you renting. A title that gets laughed at, misfiled, and treated like a joke before the first bike ever lands a trick. And in 1986, one bad title wasn't just embarrassing, it was distribution poison. Posters get rejected, ads get softened, stores tuck it away in the wrong aisle. So the filmmakers made the smartest stunt of the entire production. They renamed it Rad. Clean, loud, youth slang with no explanations required. A word you can shout on a trailer. A word a kid can wear on a t-shirt. A word that lets the movie sell speed instead of confusion. Because BMX already looked risky, the title couldn't be the thing that crashes first. Number 2. Rad doesn't just look like a real BMX world. It's built out of real athletes, real ego, and real pavement. The rival you love to hate wasn't even a trained actor. It was Bart Connor, an elite gymnast who'd just taken 2 gold medals at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, only a couple years before Rad rolled cameras. The film basically points that resume at the audience and says, believe him. His smirk works because it's backed by proof. Even when the acting feels stiff, the body language never does. He moves like a guy who's been cheered his whole life. But Connor is only the loudest example. Rad packed the screen with 25+ professional BMX riders, so the races don't feel like Hollywood trying. The speed is too clean. The landings are too sharp. The background riders don't look like extras. They look like threats. That's why the movie plays like a time capsule of the sport instead of a staged fantasy. Then there's the detail that explains why the wipeouts hit so hard. Some riders weren't just paid to ride. They were paid to fall. BMX champion Mike Miranda did stunt work and got offered $500 per crash. And he went down 3 times during production, turning 3 hard slams into an extra $1,500. Not hazard pay, not sympathy money. A straight deal that put a price tag on impact. So Rad's realism isn't a mood, it's the setup. Number 3. Helltrack plays like one clean, unbroken nightmare. Crew drops in, the world blurs, and the finish line feels inevitable. That version only exists in the edit. When Rad filmed in Calgary, the production built Helltrack as the ultimate mic drop. And the first problem hit fast. The original ramp was even taller than the one you see on screen. The hired writers took one look and basically refused it. Too high, too risky. The kind of setup where a cool stunt turns into an ambulance. So the track got adjusted. The ramp was cut down into something writers could actually survive. A quieter compromise that tells you everything about how close this finale came to collapsing before it even started. And here's the twist. Even the safer Helltrack was still a monster. The course was so huge and punishing that writers couldn't complete the full thing cleanly in one continuous run. So the finale had to be engineered like a rescue mission. Hal Needham broke the race into sections, filmed each stretch separately, and let the camera coverage do the heavy lifting. To make it believable, they didn't grab one take and move on. Each section got filmed about 5 times before they advanced. Again. Enough angles and clean landings to stitch the whole ride together like one impossible flow. So when Helltrack feels legendary, that's not just movie magic. It's professionals backing away from the first version, the production scaling it down to avoid disaster, and 2 weeks of filming built around one simple goal: make it look like somebody conquered a track that, in real life, nobody could finish in one breath. Number 4. Rad didn't get handed to a sports movie director. It got handed to Hal Needham, the stuntman king who helped define the Burt Reynolds era of loud, fast chaos. Smokey and the Bandit, The Cannonball Run. Movies built on momentum, timing, and the feeling that the next second might go sideways. So when he took a teen BMX film, it could have been a mismatch. Instead, it explains everything. Needham didn't shoot bikes like a wholesome competition. He shot them like vehicles in a pursuit scene. The camera doesn't watch the riding, it chases it. The cuts hit like downshifts. The stunts are framed like near misses, not clean athletic victories. Speed becomes the joke, the threat, and the payoff all at once. That's why Rad feels like it has gasoline in its bloodstream. Even the races don't play like sports drama. They play like action choreography with handlebars. Every corner feels like a stunt setup. Every jump feels like a car car ramp, just smaller and meaner. So the secret isn't that Rad has good BMX. It's that a car chase filmmaker looked at bicycles and saw the same thing he always saw: a machine you can push too far, and a crowd that can't look away. Number 5. Crew Jones looks like a born legend, but the legend had a ghostwriter, and his name was Eddie Fiola. By the early 1980s, Fiola wasn't just talented, he was momentum, the kind of writer who made BMX look inevitable, like the sport had been waiting for someone to push it into legend. Rad kept the underdog story, but it quietly borrowed Fiola's real aura to power the fantasy, so every big moment feels earned instead of staged. Then the production made the move that turned the whole movie into a magic trick. Fiola didn't simply inspire the vibe, he built the reality. He came in as a technical advisor, and he handled most of the stunt writing for Crew because Bill Allen wasn't a pro BMX rider. So when the writing gets so clean it stops looking human, those "how is he still upright" bursts of control, that's Fiola doing the real work while the camera sells it as Crew's destiny, which meant the illusion had to be guarded like evidence. Allen had the face, the attitude, the every kid energy Hal Needham wanted, and that's how he got the part. But once Fiola became the engine, continuity became survival. Hair had to match, movement had to cut clean. Even Allen dyeing his hair wasn't vanity, it was camouflage, so the switch wouldn't yank you out of the dream. So when Crew finally detonates on Hell Track, it isn't just a character winning, it's a champion skill wearing a movie star's face, convincing the world it was always one person. Number 6. The bikes were doing missile launches. The reviews were doing dismissals. A lot of critics never even stepped into the mindset. They wrote about BMX like it was a phase, a toy aisle sport, a sugar rush for kids. But here's the twist. Even while they smirked at it, many still expected the craze to carry it. The logic was simple. BMX was hot. Kids were obsessed. The energy was real. Maybe this thing would ride that wave and surprise everyone. Then the numbers landed, and the hope died fast. The figures most often cited put Rad at around $2 million in theaters on a budget near $3 million. That is not a breakout. That is a wipeout. Suddenly, the same critics who treated it like a gimmick had a new reason to dismiss it. Not only was it silly, it also could not even sell itself as an event. Rad was built for speed, but it got boxed out before it could catch air. Number 7. The box office wasn't where Rad found its tribe. It found them in living rooms under flickering TV glow, with a tape that got rewound so many times the plastic started feeling soft. Once the theatrical run cooled off, the movie landed on VHS and Laserdisc in 1986, and suddenly it started behaving like a hit in the place that mattered most in the 80s, the video store aisle. People who never bought a ticket kept renting it anyway, again and again. The film's reputation didn't spread through reviews. It spread through sleepovers, weekend stacks, and that one friend who would not shut up about Hell Track. That home video life got so strong it's often described as a real rental phenomenon, even credited with spending about 2 years as a top 10 video rental. And that detail explains the obsession. Rad was not a watch once movie. It was a play it until the tape looks tired movie. The kind of thing kids memorized the way other people memorize songs. Then came the part that felt almost insulting. Despite the demand, the modern upgrade did not show up. No easy DVD era rescue, no clean Blu-ray glow up, just a long stretch of fans asking for a version that didn't look like it had been copied through 3 generations of worn tape. The reasons never landed clearly. Rights, business doubt, somebody not believing the noise was real. Whatever it was, the result stayed the same. The movie lived in the past even while the format world moved on. And when the upgrade finally arrived, it landed like a delayed victory lap. In 2020, Rad finally got a 4K release and a digital release on iTunes. A movie that survived by being rewound had to wait until the streaming era to get treated like it belonged on the shelf, which means the real story is not that the industry saved Rad. The audience did. And for decades, they kept peddling with the wrong format, waiting for the picture to finally catch up. Number 8. The soundtrack split in two. One song became immortal and the other got stranded inside the film. Send Me an Angel was already out there before the film. Real Life recorded it in the early 80s, and pop radio had already picked it up. But once Rad dropped that track into the bike dance scene, it stopped being background sound and turned into the movie's heartbeat. For a lot of fans, that chorus doesn't summon an 80s single. It summons slow motion wheels, sweat, neon energy, and the exact second the room feels like it might lift off the floor. And when other movies kept recycling the song later, it just proved the point. Rad didn't borrow the track, it branded it. Then there's the opposite fate. Caught Up in the Crossfire by the Charmed Kings is welded to the film in a way that feels almost unfair. It wasn't pushed like a real single. It didn't land on an official soundtrack release. For a long time, it wasn't sitting on a clean, easy-to-find commercial version you could just play whenever you wanted. If you wanted that song, you had to go through the movie. So fans did what fans always do. They ripped the audio, tried to scrub out dialogue and background noise, and traded those homemade edits around like contraband. One song escaped and became legend. The other is still trapped inside Rad, riding in circles until somebody finally lets it out. Number 9. In 1986, youth culture didn't just chase one rush. It chased two, and each one came with its own tribe. Thrashin' hit that same year and went after the other half of the 80s adrenaline. Skateboards instead of BMX. Sun-baked Los Angeles instead of small-town glory. Crews, rivalries, ramps, and downhill speed, where every trick feels like a challenge, not a hobby. It is loaded with real board energy and long stretches of skating that feel less like movie choreography and more like someone captured a scene that was already happening. Even the soundtrack feels like part of the engine, pumping the whole thing with that loud, reckless neon-era mood. So if rad is the BMX daydream that makes you want to sprint back to your bike, thrashin' is the version that makes you want to find a board, hit a parking lot, and prove you belong before the sun goes down. Number 10. Rad didn't just gain a cult following, it gained a calendar spot. March 21st turned into Rad Day, a yearly fan celebration built around the film's release. Across the United States and Canada, theaters have hosted special screenings that feel less like movie nights and more like reunions, sometimes paired with documentaries, sometimes followed by Q&A events where cast and crew show up and relive the chaos. Riders roll in like it's a race day. Old fans bring friends like they're passing down a secret. And online, the date keeps lighting up with tricks, edits, and memories, like the movie still has momentum. By the 25th anniversary in 2011, the following was strong enough to pull the team back into the same room. A big anniversary screening brought Bill Allen, Lori Loughlin, Bart Connor, and Eddie Fiola together again, swapping stories about the shoot and what the film became once VHS took over. The crowd showed up like believers, packed in with people who still swear this movie is the reason they ever wanted a BMX bike in the first place. That's Rad's strangest victory. It didn't win the year, it won forever. One release date turned into a ritual. That's the strange power of Rad. It didn't last by being perfect. It lasted by being real enough to light something in people. A bike dream built from bruises, ego, music, and one impossible finish line.
For BMX, and so I treated that different job.
This is the official documentary of the movie that turned BMX upside down. It's more than just a movie. It's a rad documentary.
Hit like, subscribe, and tell me which movie you want next. Until then, stay rad.